Young birds on the street misleading them. Call them the lost generation. No one's teaching them, and no one's leading them. And it's just misdirection. War zone, tell them enter at your own discretion. And they say that Jesus wept, so I ain't afraid to cry. But I ain't Jesus. Will I rise? I'm afraid to die. And if I said something different, I'm a faithful lie. But she never raised a sucker. I ain't afraid to try. And they say that Jesus wept, so I ain't afraid to cry. But I ain't Jesus. Will I rise? I'm afraid. Okay. Hello world. We here. StreamYard tried to chop us down, but we here. It's another edition of Street Services, live from 305. I'm your host, Joey Noble. And late but not left behind is what we gonna say. Late but not left behind. So tonight, they must know we got fire tonight. I got fire tonight, you hear me? I got fire gonna burn tonight. So I'm playing host tonight to who I call the queen of BNN. So CNN gonna have to watch out, right? So Black National News on deck. You hear me? I get more news from this girl when it comes to entertainment, raising your child, developing your community, what Cardi B doing, how much money she getting, how 5G interfering with the airplanes. I'm getting everything from the Blackout. You hear me? I'm getting everything from Tasemere and the Blackout. So we got none other than Queen B herself, Queen of BNN, Black National News on deck. Tasemere from the DM firm. As I say, StreamYard must know I'm bringing fire tonight, so they tried to clip us. But we care. Miss Tasemere, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you, Joey. You were watching this morning.
What I'm watching all this. What? I'm tuned in.
Isn't that crazy with the satellites and the artificial moons in China? I don't know what's happening.
So we're gonna definitely get into that, especially when it ties into how faith ties into this, or this platform is how we are bringing how faith plays into everything that's going on in the world. The Bible tells us, in all that you do, do it for the glory of God. So it's not just about, as I said in episode 1, this is not just a Bible thumping show. We're going to talk about everything, right? How does faith play into 5G? How does faith play into these artificial moon? How does faith play into what Cardi B is doing in freedom of speech? We gonna bring it. We gonna bring it. You understand?
Well, where you want to start? What you want to start with? Because I talked about a couple of things this morning.
Okay, so first off, let my Miami folks know exactly who is Tasemere and the DM firm. 'Cause I ain't gonna tell you, I ain't gonna lie. As soon as I saw the D, I'm thinking about the download. So I had to look at when I first saw it, I had to read it. I had to read it all right. I'm like, hold on, the DM firm. Like, hold on, the DM firm. So let us know what's going on with the DM firm.
So this is Tasemere, the host of the Blackout Live from New York on BlackUSA.News, where we talk about Black economics across the diaspora of Black folks and what's in it for us, how do we get included, what do we need to do. The DM firm is a business development firm where I focus on the business plan. Most people launch their businesses with no business plan and no direction of where they want to go, how they want to do, what they're going to do. And so I help entrepreneurs write their business plans and then strategize around like partnerships, collaboration, scalability, all that good stuff.
So in layman's term, you help people take what's in their brain, the idea that they've been pondering on and dreaming about, and put it on paper so they can eventually turn it into actual functioning business.
Exactly. Because
Okay.
when you go to a bank or you want to get an investor, people are always going to listen to what you have to say, but then they want you to write something on paper, and you have to know what you're writing. They don't need it to be a novel, but they need at least a one pager or a two pager. So what are you going to give them?
Exactly. I mean, that's something that you actually spoke on recently. That actually touched on something that me personally, I'm out here calling myself an entrepreneur, and I got this business, I got that business, and you did a show not too long ago about actually reaching out to investors and investors wanting that return on their investment, and actually being set up the right way. Everybody talk about sole proprietorship or LLC, but if you want to go out and get this money, you're gonna need to be in a different kind of corporation, a C corp or a S corp, and then that comes with paperwork, that comes with filing. This morning you hit us with the IRS. I mean, so you're giving us a lot of you're giving the business and entrepreneurship community a lot of meat, not just okay, go start a LLC, start a business. So you're giving us a lot of meat, especially with the venture capital and keeping us up to date with the IRS. So what's like how so they come in with a business in my mind. Tajmir gonna help me put it on paper.
Help you put it
And
on
then
paper, help you figure out what you need to do. So to your point, like if you're thinking about you have only a business concept, an idea, and you need to go get some money from some other people to help you come up with the prototypes, right? Then we have to come up with what they usually look for is a pitch deck, right? They don't even want really a full out business plan. They want a pitch deck. So now how are you going to pitch to them? Because you can meet an angel investor, now in venture capital, anybody can be an investor. You could do a Kickstarter campaign, an Indiegogo campaign, and you can do a friends and family round or something like that. But you have to understand, what are you trying to get done? And then most importantly from that episode, how are you planning on exiting your company so you can pay your investor back? Because the investor doesn't make any money unless you exit. Or is this going to be something that's kind of risque, where the investor can invest in you and maybe they don't get a return on their investment, right? So like just thinking through your go-to-market strategy, what problem are you solving? Why should they want to invest in you? Who is your team? Those are things that you need to be able to demonstrate so they can know that you're serious. But that's on the investment side. On the I might need to get a loan kind of thing, the bank is also going to want to see some sort of business plan also. They're going to want to know that you put some sort of effort and you have some sort of plan, that if they loan you this money to start your business, that you're going to be able to pay. So there we have it.
the sheer I want the sheer volume, right, of the knowledge that you give on your show. Just the amount. Now, it ain't even necessarily the topics, because you, like as I said, you're covering and you speak about a wide range of topics, but the volume that you don't just touch on the subject, you have volume. So in the realm of entrepreneurship, you're giving volume, IRS codes, venture capitalists.
Oh yeah, with the IRS, PPP pandemic happened, and then PPP came, and everybody and they baby is an entrepreneur. Everybody was like, I'm running something. I need some PPP money. Well, now the IRS is saying, oh, you were getting that money on Cash App. And the reason why the $600 matters is because usually if I hire you to do video, like I said, like videography for me, you might charge me 400 and up, right? But if I hired you twice, now I at $400, I already paid you 800. You say you're an entrepreneur. I need to write that off on my taxes as like a business expense. And then the IRS needs to cross check that you also have that in your gross receipts. That I'm part of, like, I paid you something, because they gonna get their money from the two of us, right? Like, I paid you something, they gotta get money from me, then you pay. So now the IRS is trying to follow the dollars to make the dollars make sense, because usually you gotta file quarterly taxes, or you pay everything at the end of the year. Either way, you gotta pay something.
And this is something that we overlook, right? This is the age of entrepreneurship, which is a good thing. A lot of people are. I mean, it's a catch 22, right? I mean, we need plumbers. You could be an entrepreneurship as a plumber. We need school janitors. We need school cafeteria people. We need somebody at McDonald's. We need somebody at Walmart. You feel me? So I understand that everybody can't be an entrepreneur, but it's a great thing that people are starting to explore their own abilities, their own gifts, especially with social learning. You know what I'm saying? With Skillshare, with all of these online, even with the open courses. Like I've taken Harvard classes with the open course. I've taken classes at MIT. Like you able to access so much information and education. It's a great thing, but we're moving it's so much. Once again, it's such a large volume of things. If I want to start a business, just like with the PPP loans, all I need is a few 5 minutes to fill out a few papers, and I'm a LLC, right? And we're forgetting about the taxes. As you said earlier, we're forgetting about customer service. We're not just selling something on Etsy. We're not just selling something on WooCommerce with WordPress. We're actually dealing with other people, and we're forgetting customer service. We're so focused on I'm reaching my target audience. I got to find my target audience, and I got to run these ads. And we're forgetting that these are people. This is not just a target audience. You're selling your product to a person. So we're not thinking about customer service. We're not thinking about venture capitals. We want the money. We're not thinking about an exit strategy. We're not thinking about taxes and the C corp and the LLC and what's the difference. So I commend you. And I mean, as I said, me calling myself an entrepreneur, I've learned. You put some things that I haven't even thought about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've
Mm-hmm.
caught myself doing this. So that right there is something that is definitely commendable, and something big. Like William say, Tasemere, it's the truth. Yes, she is, my guy. Yes, she is. You dig? And that's the entrepreneur and business side of it. On the flip side of it, you're heavy in the actual community development space. Like you and Mike, you had Mike on
Last
was
week
it
we were
last week?
talking about urban planning.
Uh-huh. And he in Tampa. So that's another thing that, you're in New York and he in Tampa. So the sheer volume, once again, of information on uh um um community development, as we're all one thing that stood out to me was we all getting mad that, oh, it's gentrification, and we ain't getting nothing. You pointed out something. You was like, well, maybe because y'all not organizing, somebody else must done organize, got that money, and you go into these developers, and the developers like, yo, we did our part. So because like, like we paid y'all, we did our part, but because we're not actively engaged in our community, not only are the developers coming in and gentrifying, but we also have nefarious actors in our own community that's going to organize for us on our behalf, get these get these meet the developers at the table, and on our behalf make these deals, and we cut out because we're not engaged and involved. So like, how did you move into that community development space, and the importance that it plays for us?
Oh my gosh, how much time do I have to answer that question? Because that's a story in itself. Um, I didn't always know that there was something called urban planning or urban studies. I had no idea. So I'm going to date myself in age. I graduated from college in 2008 during the recession, the first recession, right? People were like, oh my gosh, what's happening? There's no jobs. I got out of school thinking like the people told me to go to college and I'm gonna have my life, right? I'm gonna be able to do what I want to do. And I graduate from college right into the recession. So now it's like, okay, so what I'm gonna do? I don't know what I'm gonna do. I got the degree, but I don't have experience. So I'm in a catch 22, right? So then so for full disclosure, I have a BA in history. So most history majors go to law school. And I knew I did not want to go to law school. I was like, oh, that ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. Like that was not the plan. The plan was not to go to law school. But here we are in the recession, not really sure what I'm gonna do. So I go to the plan that I didn't really want to go to. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to study for this LSAT. I don't want to do it, but I'm gonna have to do it because I gotta survive, right? As I'm studying for the LSAT and looking up schools that I knew I did not want to go to, I stumbled on something called urban planning. One of the schools here in New York City, Brooklyn Law School, has a partnership with Hunter College where you can get your JD degree from Brooklyn Law School, but also get a master's in urban planning. And I said, why would a lawyer want to be an urban planner, right? Like, what do they need to do that for? What is this thing? I realized that urban planners study land use and urban studies people study the impact of the building on the community. I said, oh, that's what I'm going to do. Because I said, I can be so fluid sometimes that I needed to do something that gave me core strategies and skills, but something that I could change. And I was like, oh, if it's urban studies, all I got to do is be close to a city. I'm good. I don't always have a job. I can move wherever I want. I can do whatever I want. Like, I'll be in demand. I don't have to worry about it. So I went to grad school for urban studies. And I was like, I'm going to commit to this for like 5 years because one of my mentors told me, don't think about like your career over, you have to do this your whole life. Like people have multiple careers, Tasemere. Like think about what you can commit to for like 5 years. I was like, I got it. I'm gonna do this. I went to grad school, graduated with my degree in urban studies, and I fell into economic development and entrepreneurship because I was volunteering at a local economic development corporation, and then I got my first real job out of grad school following grants. So I was working on a program for people that open up a childcare facility in their homes, like a daycare in their home. And I was the person that was like, writing to all the grantors, like what we did with the money. And I was like, oh, these people making like $100,000 watching somebody kids after school.
Oh yeah.
Like, I didn't know that. What's going on? What's going on with this thing? So I kind of learned business development on site. I never took a business course. I never studied business in that kind of way. I mixed history with the history of neighborhoods and how things happen and how people came to be and what their histories are with urban studies and the impact on neighborhoods and communities. And I just did a micro focus on entrepreneurship. And so I did that for about 10 years, which makes me a really different kind of planner. Because I'm like more into like culture and history of the neighborhood, and then how are you moving people in, but then how is the land allocated, right? Like is the building allocated to be a skyscraper? Can it only be one story? Can it be 2 stories? How do you project population? How do you make sure you're serving people correctly? And then how do you overlay economics on top of that to make sure you have an economic foundation to support the community? So that's how that all happened. It was like a super stuff.
But that's your MO. You got the that's DNN. You hear me? You got the super stuff. You going
The
from
super
business.
stuff.
You
And that's
going
why I'm
from
all over the place. I'm with Carly B. I'm over here about the satellites. I'm over here about the 5G. I'm all over the place. It's a super stuff.
let me tell you, I don't need the local news. I'm just tuning in on Saturdays. I'm gonna get everything I need from being in the blackout. I'm telling you, I'm tuned in. You don't need listen. Everybody, Saturday, 10 a.m. Come get your news, man. CNN. Skip me to CNN. Skip me to CNN. You hear me? CNN can skip me. I'm gonna be in the blackout Saturdays. So
Yeah, I'm trying to get the people all the stuff because it's all these different things that make communities. Whether you're
yeah,
talking about black communities, you're talking about Asian communities, you're talking about Caucasian communities, you're talking about mixed communities, it's all these things that make communities, right? You all the different players are at the table, which is why I brought up the fact that when you do development, it's not that the developers don't want to get back to the communities that they're coming into. It's that they think that they are giving back. They think that someone came to them and said, this is what you have to do when you want to come over here. And this person has made themselves or their entity a stakeholder of representing the people. So they're like, okay, what do I need to do? Who do I need to write the check to? But then that same group of people might not come back and say this is what they did because they're going to feed us what they want us to be mad about. So we're mad at the developer, and the developer is like, I did what I was supposed to do. They told me go build a library here. They told me I had to give out some jobs. I gave the jobs out to JJ and them. They got jobs here. I
yeah.
thought I thought I was doing what I was supposed to do. I don't know why everybody is so upset. But also because we aren't people that are doing urban planning, urban studies. We leave our cities and our communities to be developed by people who are not part of that fabric and they don't want to understand. They just move things around on a map, like I'll do GIS and I'll say what the heat map looks like and I'll just move things around because I don't know this community. I'm not from here. So I can just move the buildings. It doesn't matter to me, right? So that's on us to also be a little bit more aware about what we need to be doing, and to bring it full circle about faith is also who you put in your energy and your faith into. Because if we're thinking that we need to put it into the politicians or the community board or the elected officials or the this person or the that person and they know what's best for us, we're going to get the short end of the stick all the time.
So I'm definitely gonna touch on that right now. So let's hop in the drone. Hop in the drone. Let's take a broader view. So we were speaking about urban development, our communities and the buildings and the land and the communities and just the economics of our communities. But look, let's hop in the drone. Our whole nation have an infrastructure problem, right? We got bridges falling down. The traffic is horrible. Like you better off walking in Atlanta because they got the worst traffic I ever seen. And that's, I mean, Miami ain't no different. LA, the smog in LA. I mean, like, so Biden just, you know, he's going to attempt to do it. Trump said it. Obama was saying that we have an infrastructure problem with our nation, with our country, period. Point blank, period. So we got an infrastructure problem on a wider and wide scale, and then we can hone in back to our communities, and we still have that infrastructure and community development problem. Now, tying it back into faith, my thing is we have a church on every street corner, sometimes two churches on one street corner. I know we do down here in Miami. I
We
mean,
do, we do, and you have that happen in most city areas. There's a lot of churches, a lot of nonprofits. Don't get me started.
so my thing is with all of the crime and all of, as you're saying, who we're bringing into our communities and who we're moving out, with all of the, like the program that Mike was saying that his organization is supporting, this center that's going to teach the kids STEM programs and get them into coding, with all of the people, the actual people, not just the developers, and being mad at the churches or being mad at the developers. How how is it that we can have a church on every corner, and yet our communities aren't being built, or our the people in our communities aren't, they aren't changing? The community is definitely changing. People are coming out, people are going there, organizations are coming. We got churches popping up on every corner, yet the people themselves aren't changing. What do you feel about these churches taking up almost all of the good almost, they in prime location. They can pick out a location better than McDonald's can. You see a church in a prime location. What's going on with that?
Okay, so I'm gonna say some stuff that I usually only say on the phone because
We
I'm gonna give it to the people.
we need to know.
I think that we think of church as humanitarian and don't look at it as a business. It's a business first and foremost, right? So that's number one. Number two, a lot of the issues with cities or rural communities or any community in general, when you're talking about people, is a mix of civil challenges and a mix of social challenges, but we always put the capital first. So we don't put the people first. Like all of the cities were all they're built for a particular reason. Suburbs were birthed out of cities for a particular reason. Rural communities are there for a particular reason, right? But when people go in, they're thinking about how much money they can make. And then they put the social stuff after the money. The social stuff don't really make money for certain places because it's a business to keep people poor because we also live in a capitalist classist society. So we have two different things. That we got racial stuff that's happening on one end, we got class stuff that's happening on the other end, and everybody can't have everything. So poverty makes a lot of money. That's why we refuse to solve homelessness. We refuse to solve hunger, right? That's why we refuse to solve gun violence. We refuse to solve a lot of different things because it makes money for the organizations that are applying for the same, pool of money to run their organizations or whatever. But most of that money goes into paying the people, and a little bit of the money goes into actually doing the work.
You're absolutely right on that. Let me touch on that. So what a lot of people don't know is, once a church is not just a church. It is a 501c3 nonprofit recognized by the IRS. It is a nonprofit. Um, nonprofit meaning it's still a business. Just because it's nonprofit, don't get it twisted. There is a lot of business and money to be made in our churches, and they are making money. Another thing is, once they actually become a 501c3, there are a lot of things that they are restricted from talking and teaching about. If you look at even the televangelists on TV, or even the church in your local neighborhood, you will often notice that a lot of Bible verses are being repeated. They're not really delving deep into certain Bible verses because they are restricted on that. Also, in 2008, a lot of we know that the housing crisis, the housing crisis really affected the African American community the most. And what we are not being told is that the hedge funds and the banks came into the African American community, specifically targeted the churches, paid most, not all. They persuaded some, but they did pay a lot of these church leaders to persuade their congregation to take these subprime loans. So the hedge funds and the bankers specifically targeted the churches for these subprime loans, and They used the churches, they used the pastors, they used the faith leaders to do so. They didn't go into the schools. They didn't go to the commissioners. They didn't go to the HBCUs. They did that, but most of the people that heard about a subprime loan, they got them from their church, and they called it wealth building seminars. They get the and it's not a surprise. The two most commonly prayed for things in any church is, God, please bless my finances, and God, please bless my health. So the people, the number one, they're gonna go to the church first. They need their help. Number two, they trust their pastor more than they trust their commissioner. They trust their pastor more than they trust their governor. They know they pastor before they know their commissioner, a local judge, a local police chief, or any other politician. They know they pastor and the church leaders first. So if our church leaders if the people are looking to our church leaders for help and economic help, not just spiritual help, and the bankers are coming in and using the church leaders, as you're saying, we stuck in the catch 22. It's a capitalist. Everybody out to get the cash, right? Everybody looking for the bag. So we have people like you, and the sole purpose of Black USA News and what Donnie is doing is trying to raise the consciousness and the awareness of the average Black man and Black woman, and yet we're stuck. We are, as you just eloquently explained it, poverty is big business. So we have us saying, "Come on, let's become entrepreneurs. Let's get into the word. Let's use our faith. Let's use our power. Let's use our strength. Let's learn about starting a business the right way so we can pass it down. Let's learn about generational wealth. Let's learn about uh, um, um, real estate. Let's learn about how to actually go out and get this money. Let's learn about what the IRS is actually saying. Let's learn these things, and yet we're still there is a glass ceiling, right? Because no matter what we're learning, no matter how much effort we're putting into it, at the end of the day, poverty sells. So I mean, it's like how do we actually escape? How do we actually, if we're out here protesting, they're not helping us with the gun violence. Actually, it's more it's more easy to get a gun now. You can ride with it. You can ride with what they call it, I don't know, the Dracos, and you can ride with these things in your back seat now. You can ride with them in the glove department. It's so easy to get them. You're saying they're not trying to solve that. Poverty is big business. Our churches are being taken advantage of. We, the people, are not really doing it the right way. Are you saying today, like people not tuning in to get the information? What do we do?
I don't really know what the answer is. I mean, if we're gonna high focus on Black folks, I think one of the challenges is that we don't understand that we have a racial issue overlaid with the immigration issue, and we cannot get on the same page to negotiate properly, right? So that's why I say the diaspora of Black folks, right? Because you have some Black people feel like they don't feel comfortable using the word Black because they think that Black only means African American. And if they're not African American, then they shouldn't use the term Black. That's why you hear people talk about being Nigerian American, or they talk about being Jamaican American. And so they're overlaying a racial challenge or classification with an immigration story or migration story. And so we can't really negotiate for anything because the world just sees all of us as being Black folks. We
Yeah.
see each other as being separate cultures, and that's important. So if each culture has different negotiation things that they're asking for, and we all don't have an overall ask that we all are on the same page, that when you talk to any Black person, we're all asking for the same thing, it's easy to separate us apart, to not give us what we feel like we want, because we
Go
all
behind, plug in the computer charger. Go ahead.
want something different.
The computer charger.
kind of separated, and that's why we cannot make demands. I always ask politicians that they always ask for the black vote and don't have a black agenda.
Speaking of that, in this recent um, um, press conference that Biden and Kamala had, I heard a lot of people saying, "Bro, I ain't seen her in like a whole year. I ain't seen them in like 1,000 years." So it's like I see them every day. She was doing the Cardi B dance in the barbershop. You hear me? Joe Biden was on camera with Charlemagne, and it's like, hold on, y'all was advocating and really pushing for the black vote, and y'all got it, and we haven't seen y'all since. Like we just seen y'all for the first time on this press conference talking about the anniversary of the Capitol riot. I heard it. I didn't see it because I really don't care about the Democrats and the Republicans. Look at here, y'all. Don't get me started on that. But so I wasn't paying attention to it, but I heard a lot of people were saying, "Man, I haven't seen them in this." No, I just kept hearing a lot of people saying, "I haven't seen them. I haven't seen them." So to your point, they are pounding the pavement for the black vote, but then they disappear on us.
And we don't hold them accountable for that, because who's going to hold them accountable for that if it is our church leaders who basically usher people in to say, I'm going to get my congregation to vote for this person. We don't really have the advocacy and also the business acumen to understand that all of this need to equal into some dollars and some cents, right? Like we need to move away from being humanitarians and start really going in and figuring out how is this going to make some sense for my baseline economics of the communities that I'm representing. Because if it's not going to make any sense, then I need to hold off and maybe negotiate for something different.
Dr. King said we need to focus less on civil rights and start focusing more on silver rights. He said that long time ago.
Yeah, we don't do that. We want to, and honestly, by the time we figure out certain trends in business or education, is we oversaturate the market and then it doesn't exist anymore. So it's great that we're going to train people on STEM, but does STEM only have to be coding? Because how many coders are we going to turn out, and how many jobs is going to be in coding if everybody and their cousin are doing coding? Like one of the things that I realize is that now everybody has a PhD, but how many professors can you have at all the universities? Everybody's not going to be in academia. So what is the diversity of the portfolio, and how much money can you really make from the student loans that you have to take out? We don't really sit down and think. We kind of just go with what someone tells us is the next hot thing. And we don't sit down and really critically think about, okay, if I invest $200,000 on my education in my lifetime, how much is that going to garner me, and what do I need to survive? Because coming out with a loan with $200,000, $300,000, and you got to pay rent, and you got to eat, and in most places you need a car to get around. Most cities don't have 24/7 MTA like New York City, and even places in New York City you cannot get to on a train. You got to take a train and a bus, or a train and a cab. Those things cost money, right? If you're planning on having a family, how you going to pay for formula and diapers? These things sound like you're going to make a lot of money, but when you factor in taxes, you factor in your life, you factor in trying to save, you back to hustling backwards, where you kind of living paycheck to paycheck, and God forbid you lose your job. Now you really hustle backwards because you got all this to take out that you got to pay back, and you have these fancy degrees, but you can't really make any kind of economical sense. Most people will tell you that being an entrepreneur is the only way to real wealth. That's the only way that you are going to acquire a lot of wealth is if you become an entrepreneur. But how many people can really do that successfully?
Well, I think well, first of all, that's a fact. Look at all the wealthiest people. Bill Gates started Microsoft. Um, um, Elon Musk started Tesla. Jeff Bezos started Amazon. Warren Buffett started Berkshire Hathaway. So yes, entrepreneurship is the way to go. Um, the top or the richest people that we know, the richest people on Forbes top riches are entrepreneurs first. They diversify their portfolio, but they are entrepreneurs first. So the way to true wealth is entrepreneurship. But I would say this: there's a movement called ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves. I like ADOS because, as you were saying, there is a distinction. There's not all black people. Like even a Nigerian can be down here in Miami and they'll call them the N word. Now, they will probably take offense to that, not only because you call them an N word, but I take offense to it because N word are, normally reserved for African American slaves. So I would tell you quick, I'm not, I'm not, I'm not an African American. I'm an African. I'm Nigerian, or I'm Jamaican. I'm Haitian, or they'll tell you that. I look black, but I'm from Dominican. So it's very important to distinguish who is who. And I would say, being African American, we have to first understand that we are 400 years late to the party. They have had a 400-year head start off our backs, right? They've had a 400-year head start off our backs. When we did get a little breathing room with Black Wall Street, we had a black real estate mogul, O.W. Gurley, OG Gurley, what we call him, who brought up a whole bunch of land. We had like-minded black people who came in and built black hospitals, black airports, black airlines, black pharmacies, black schools, black hair salons, black doctors' offices, black farms, black grocery stores. We had Booker T. Washington building a black university, Tuskegee. We had George Washington Carver revolutionizing black, not even black, just agriculture altogether, and the peanut. We had this going on. We had Marcus Garvey with the Black Star Line. We had this going. We had Madam C.J. Walker, black hair products. We had all of this going on, which was, who knows the Harlem Renaissance. Who knows what we would be right now had Black Wall Street been able to survive to this day? Who knows where would the black wealth be on the scale or the wealth gap? How close it would be if that never would have been destroyed? So we had these people coming together to do that, and we did that not by protesting. O.W. Gurley didn't go down to the county's office and get mad because the white people didn't buy his land. He wasn't protesting. He wasn't going to the Capitol. He just found like-minded people. They put their hands, they put they money where their mouth was. They invested and they built businesses. Right? It was destroyed, but they built businesses. And this was all during World War I. This was all during the Spanish, not the Spanish flu. I think it was the Spanish flu, and during like the most harshest times of racism. Racism is way less than it was now than it was back then. Yet they pioneered Black Wall Street, and it's like we can't recreate that now. It's like the pyramids. The pyramids were built way back 5,000, 4,000 BC by people we say were uh, primitive cavemen, but we can't build a pyramid today with all our technology. What they
Well,
did.
there's a comedian that I watch. I need to Google him so I can give him his due credit.
Uh-huh.
because he said something on Charlemagne's show recently that really, I think, I want to tie it into what we're talking about. And I want to give him credit really quickly. Give me 1 second so I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
step
yeah.
away, get my phone, because I don't want nobody saying I ain't give them their right credit. One moment.
We listen. We got to get them credentials right. But I'll continue to make my point as she stepped away. We made something with Black Wall Street. We made something just not just Black Wall Street, the Harlem Renaissance, just around that time, what African Americans were doing with technology, with business, with entrepreneurship, with finances, with growing and expanding the Black diaspora. And it seemed like coronavirus hit and Black people act like I can't do nothing. I can't do nothing but sit around, wait for a handout. Let me get the stimulus check because Corona is killing everybody, and it's we can't do nothing now. And it's not true, and it shouldn't be like that.
So I have his name, Ryan Davis Comedy. He said something recently, and I was like, I need to meet him and we need to just hang out. He was talking about how I'm paraphrasing in my interpretation, but mediocrity is the new hot thing. People don't have to think and want to be great anymore. You can just have a whole channel of just critiquing what someone else already said or just reinventing what someone else already did, and you'll make more money and have more influence versus the creator of that thing. Whereas in the time period that you're talking about, people wanted something. Right now, people are like so lackadaisical and used to someone telling them like, okay, you go here, you do this, you'll be a millionaire. Like, being a millionaire is no money. You need to be thinking about being a trillionaire because anybody can be a millionaire. Like, you can do that, and then once you become a millionaire, if you don't understand how money works, how do you make sure you keep the money that you make? That goes into like hiring the right tax people to let that will tell you and advise you how to make sure you can keep most of the money that you make. If not, you're going to be giving a lot of it back to the government anyway. So yeah, you became a millionaire, but you don't got no money management, so you're not no millionaire no more.
Yeah, yeah. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know. It's easy. It's one. It's I often say there's a distinction between making money and creating wealth. Mike Tyson made a lot of money. Michael Jackson made a lot of money. He died with a lot of money, but it wasn't liquid. Whitney Houston made a lot of money. MC Hammer made a lot of money. These people were rich, but they wasn't creating wealth. When you got wealth, you got to know how to protect that wealth. We call it estate planning or asset protection.
But we
You don't.
don't do that. We talk about businesses and we don't think about, if you're saying for real, I'm going to make a legacy business, then what is your succession plan? We don't even talk about that. How do you
Yeah.
have a legacy business with no succession plan? We just throw words around because they sound really nice. But then you don't have no succession plan. You get hit by a bus tomorrow. Who's going to pick up your business?
A lot of us we know the key, a hot word right now is generational wealth, but we don't know how to. We don't know number one. We think generational wealth is becoming a millionaire. We don't know about a trust. We don't know about an irrevocable trust. We don't know about a living will. A lot of us don't even have a will. We don't know about a HSA. We don't know about a Roth IRA. We don't know about a self-directed of 401k. We don't know about the solo 401k, which is a very, very lucrative investment retirement account. The solo 401k is where to go. All we know is an IRA, a Roth IRA, which is cool, and a 401k. We don't know the history of where the 401ks come from and how they replaced the pensions. We don't know the history of our financial system. We don't know what quantitative easing is and how it's killing our money. Most of our money is just sitting in the bank being eaten up by inflation. We're getting 0.0001% of interest from the bank, and inflation is going up. And at the average was 2.5 to 3%. Now inflation is like 6, 7%. So your money, think about it. Your money is in the bank. You got, I don't know, the average bank account for African Americans, according to the Fed, is $300. That's about it. The average African American black person got about $300 in the bank. Say, for instance, you did have $1,000. Your $1,000 is in the bank getting 0.001%, and inflation is going up 7% right now. Do the math. Do the math. Like, it don't make no sense to have your money in the bank. We have to invest. If you got $1, find somewhere to put that dollar. That dollar is going to be eaten up by inflation. It's already ate up by inflation, right?
But you know what? We don't think about that because everybody tell you put all your money in the bank. That is like my biggest thing with people, and this goes beyond race, is that we do not think. We have lost the art of critically thinking and reading. We are just waiting for someone else to read the books, read the articles, and tell us what it said.
I'm gonna take the course. Uh, I'm gonna just take your course, your $300. You read the books, and I'm gonna take your $300 course, and hopefully I can be like Wall Street Trapper. Trap, you do all the work, right? Trap, and I'm gonna just take the trap course. I'm gonna be anonymous, Trappers Anonymous, and hopefully I can be like you. It don't work like that.
Yeah,
You
is
gotta read
that's
that
that
book.
we are in a time and space that's the easy way out, right? And then we get upset when the rules change. I tell there's no rules. There's no you need to be able to understand what something is so when the rules change, you understand what the change is. If
Okay.
you don't take the time to do that, you always going to be looking for somebody to provide you the answers and the next steps because you aren't practicing thinking.
So let me address. We done got all the way down here, and I haven't addressed something that I should have addressed at 0.01 seconds. Where's my man at? Where's Eli? What's going on? Like what's going on with Eli? Eli.
Eli was taking a nap. He's in the room. He's been, into his own little thing. I'm actually really excited to see when he starts developing his own thoughts, what these conversations are going to look like and feel like because his education started with me first. And you know what I talk about.
So
So
that's exactly where I'm headed. So speaking of generational wealth, a lot of my I have a program, Disciple Mafia Family, and that program is specific. It's a men's ministry, but the mission of that program is specifically for the kids. I feel like we are so focused on the adults. The adults are so focused on us, and I think that the next step, the way that this generational wealth gap is going to close, the 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 um, the Federal Reserve is projecting that the transfer of wealth between our generation and the next generation will be the largest transfer of wealth ever. It's about $62 trillion that's going to pass from us to the next generation, from the millennials to the Gen Zs. That's a huge amount of wealth that we are amassing. As you said, it's easy to be a millionaire right now. It's called being insta famous, and I feel like the yes, the wealth is being created and it's going to transfer. Whether the IRS gonna get most of it because we don't have the information to protect it and properly transfer it, or we do have the information to properly transfer it. But that's 62,000. We can't die with it. I mean, that 62 trillion, we can't take it to the grave with us. It's going to
Hmm.
trickle down. And when it comes to the next generation, I feel like we have to focus on them. We have to focus on starting from Eli age, from he just need to hear it. If you can play Beethoven on the belly when he in the stomach, then when he out the stomach, he definitely need to be hearing it.
I mean, like, so the pandemic is a blessing and a curse for me because I have had him the entire time, right? He does not go to daycare. What he does his whole day is he works with me all day. He
And he
works
got something
all
to
day.
say.
He's on these Zooms with me all day. He's on BlackUSA.news with me. He's on phone calls with me. He works with me practically every day. And I tell him, ever since I was pregnant with him, we got to go to work. We got work to do. We have to go to work. I think it's about if we wait until our kids are even in kindergarten or first grade or second grade,
Too
it's
late.
too late, right? I've watched other folks with their kids and really successful people and just was studying them since I was like a teenager. And what I realized is that we have this concept of it's unprofessional for us to bring our children to work. Other cultures do not feel that way. They are bringing everybody knows about their baby from the time the baby was a baby. So when the baby grows up in these internships, Elijah's network is way like better than my network. His network is like people call just to talk to him. They're
You
not
see,
calling to talk to,
you see, I'm
not
looking for him.
not calling to talk to me. So imagine, when he gets to be in kindergarten or first grade or fifth grade, just the amount of influence that he has. And wealth isn't always monetary. It's also education. It's also connecting with people. It's also knowing how to network with people. Some people think that networking is like, I meet you, hi, my name is Tasemere, here's my business card. I don't know. What am I doing with this? What am I supposed to do with this business card? I
Who
don't
are
even
you? What's your business?
know you, right? So I think we know what these things are, but I think that we have to take some time to really understand the infrastructure of how things work and really start thinking about how does our faith or lack of faith impact why we decide to do what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Because when I was an urban planner, I was like, I'm gonna be one of those people that go back to the block. Okay, it was rough. All right. I did not make as much money as I needed to make. All these concepts of bring your education back to where you grew up and use it in your neighborhood. Okay, it's poverty and there's no money for me and I have to eat. What am I going to do? How am I going to do? And I did that for a long time. But I think that we all have to decide, what are we going to be martyrs for and how are we going to be a martyr?
Yeah.
I got tired of being broke, to be quite honest. Like,
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I need to figure out, to everybody else's point, this generational wealth thing, like how am I going to do this? And some of us have already paid our dues. Like I tell people, if I don't volunteer or nothing else, I already paid my dues to the cause. I,
Yeah.
I already did that. But I think we have to figure out like what is going to guide us in doing what we're doing and how do we want to do it.
To a quick point on that, the Bible say if you teach your child while they're young, then they won't depart from it. Now that's it's a good sentiment. It's a lot of kids that grew up in the church and they still end up wilding out. As a matter of fact, we all know that it's the preacher's daughter who be the wildest one in the church, right? So it's not always just because you're in the church house that you're gonna just be faith bound and go the right way. I was faith bound and went. I've been in the church since I was 2, 3, and I still ended up around the wrong people in the wrong predicament. But I feel like, to your point, as far as we feel like it's inappropriate to talk money around the kids. We feel like it's inappropriate to tell the kids, listen, I can't buy them Jordans because we got a light bill to pay this month. So we trying to we feel like it's inappropriate to talk money about kids. But what we are missing out on is that's another form of um estate planning. That's another form of wealth protection. You can hire your child. You can pay your from the age of like 2, 3 years old. What you mean? You got so here's how I go. Instead of giving them that $20 allowance in cash handed in their hands, what you do is you go and make a checking account in their name and you put them to work. So now, if they 2, 3 years old and they walk around the house, even if they help mommy look for her keys, that's a job. Or when they 5, 6 years old, they're helping mommy to file the papers. Instead of giving them that money in their hand, you put that money in their checking account. So it's still the same money when you need to go and buy their boxes and buy their school supplies, you do it from their checking account. Now, at the end of the year, you get to write that money off. So I get to pay my kids allowance and still write it off. Yes. Another thing, another thing is birthday time. Instead of going out and just buying the birthday present from your account, no, put them to work, let them do their chores, pay them the same allowance for their chores, but put it in their bank account and still take the same money, go buy the birthday gifts, go buy the Christmas gifts, and you can write it off. You can
Well, what
write
I
that
did for
shit off.
Eli's birthday was I made him a reading list. Eli reads books. I mean, I read them to him. He laughs. I make all the funny noises and all that stuff. But getting people to love of words and love of reading, because they hide all the secrets in the books.
That's what they say. The best place to hide something from a black person, put in the book.
Put it in a book because you're not going to read it.
I do want to say the you and Donnie, what you guys, well, see, Donnie is pushing it on you and you're pushing it on everybody, which is writing, right? A lot of us, we love to speak, we love the podcast, we love the videos, but we don't want to put the pen to pad. Like, so that this writing and reading, that's a good look and that's a good push of what you and Donnie is actually,
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
Donnie pushes me to write all the time,
yeah,
and I am trying to make time to write because writing is an art and it's your voice, right? And books don't ever really go anywhere. They're archived like forever and ever and ever. And most prominent people have a few books that they have written and continue to write. So I think it's important. I think it helps with vocabulary. I think it helps with grammar. I think it helps with all of those fundamental things. And sometimes it's really hard, and hard is sometimes good because it stretches you to think in ways that you haven't thought before. And that's okay.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so let me ask you one final thing. How does your faith, what role does your faith play in all of this? Whether it's, you know, making sure Eli comes up right, the community, your love for everybody, your love for knowledge of yourself, pushing through what you're pushing through from day one, telling Eli, we got to go to work. What role does your faith play in all that power and that empowerment?
So I know most people like you, I've been a Christian all my life. So I'll give like both answers. So I went to private school. I grew up always knowing God and praying. My mom taught me how to pray when I was really, really, really young. But I decided to I self-elected to become a Christian when I was probably around 22, I want to say. And so it's something that grounds me, especially when I feel frightened and when I feel like other people are telling me that I can't do something, or when something feels super hard for me. It's something that keeps me grounded. Now, The raising of Eli is like another soup, right? It's another pot of mixing in things that I definitely appreciated growing up from my childhood, things that I felt like I didn't necessarily get because of, my parents' inability to understand or even know that that was a thing. So my parents don't have a really gigantic network. It's probably like almost non-existent. But what my mom did do was that I was part of a college bound program, and in the college bound program we got mentors. And so my mom was so secure in her position and in her relationship with me that she actually allowed someone else to mother me. And this person had like so much academic knowledge. She's Elijah's grandma now, right? Like, and I saw like how she was doing things and how her friends were doing things, and I was kind of like, yeah, well, when I have a kid, I'm gonna try to add in some of this other stuff. So Elijah is like a mix of different experiences that I have had, and his dad had a totally different experience from me because again he has more of a immigrant story because he's from the Ivory Coast. And so when we have conversations around race, he's never had to think about being black back home. That wasn't a thought like it is here in the States. So trying to figure out how we merge different cultures together, what we feel is like mutually important to us, is just like a mixed pot for Eli. So who I don't know who I'm gonna get.
Well, you got plenty of options. I tell you that much.
But one thing is for certain, Eli will be praying because he was listening to gospel music all throughout the time that I was pregnant, and we were journaling and we were writing and we were praying and his dad was praying. So he will definitely be a prayer warrior, that is for sure.
Well, me and Chap touched on epigenetics, and so we know how what you were thinking, feeling, and doing affects him while he was even in the womb. So we definitely want to keep him prayed up, and he will have plenty, have his pick. Well, Eli already got 100 mentors. He got cryptocurrency
He got so
mentors.
many aunties and uncles. I'm
He
his
got authors.
secretary.
Yeah, exactly. You his secretary. You
I'm
his
his
secretary.
I'm his secretary doing FaceTimes and WhatsApp calls where everybody want to know what he's doing, how he's doing, where he's going. That is going to be a delight to see who he becomes and continues to grow into being. I'll make sure
Okay.
next Saturday he's strapped in on the show because last week he was talking. I don't know what he
But
was talking about.
listen, Eli was like, "Listen, can I get a seat? Can I get my seat?" When dude went to talk about the center, Eli was like, "Hold on, I know I'm gonna get my seat first, right?" That's why I was in the comments like, "I know you hear Eli. I know y'all hear Eli. I know y'all hear my man. Recognize respect. Put some respect on my man. Comment. Respect my man voice. You hear me? But there it is, man. The Queen Bee, the captain, the skipper of BNN News, done blessed us.
You
305
gave me a
Wisdom.
whole new title. You
Oh,
have dubbed me a whole new title.
oh, what? The skipper of BNN herself, Queen Bee. Queen of Black National News herself. It's in the building right now. She done blessed us. Miami, you welcome right now. I hope you drink it all up right now. So, Queen Bee, let the people know how can they find you, where can they find you, how can they support you.
So definitely I want you guys to tune in Saturdays, 10:15 Eastern, the Blackout live from New York with me and sometimes my co-host Elijah bringing you interviews from people, talking about recent articles that you might have missed, what you need to be looking out for, having some thought-provoking conversations. You could join me on live, or I put the link in the chat. Come talk to me. Let's chop it up. You can also visit www.thedmfirmnyc.com. That's where you can find me. IG, the DM Firm, YouTube, the DM Firm. That's where you can find me. Or you can just type in Tajmi. I'm the only one with the name. It'll pop up.
Okay, cool. Well, you
Thank
can
you for
definitely
having me, Joey. It
no
has been, I'm coming back.
listen. Where you going? You got to. If you, well, you know what, you can go. Just leave Eli. You hear me? You can go leave Eli. It don't matter. You dig? So everybody, I hope y'all drinking that up. You could definitely support me, AY Asher, or anything that I'm doing at thenoblemanbrand.com. You can get the book, The Bible Says What, which helps you to dig deeper and get an easier view of the Bible. We help you walk through the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. It's called The Bible Says What. The t-shirt brand, the music. You can find everything at The Nobleman Brand. We're gonna wish y'all a good night. Queen B, the queen, the skipper, the captain of Black National News has been here. She blessed us. We're gonna bang that outro and wish y'all a good night. The Tasmanian Devil is here. Young birds on the street misleading them. Call them the lost generation. No one's teaching them, and no one's leading them. And it's just misdirection. War zone, tell them enter at your own discretion. And they say that Jesus wept, so I ain't afraid to cry. But I ain't Jesus. Will I rise? I'm afraid to die. And if I said something different, I'm a faithful liar. But she never raised a sucker. I ain't afraid to try. And they say that Jesus wept, so I ain't afraid to cry. But I ain't Jesus. Will I rise? I'm afraid. Peace.